I died choking on my own blood, the metallic tang flooding my mouth as the car's twisted wreckage pinned me against the dashboard, my brother's screams echoing like a bad joke from the passenger seat. Hazel. Oh God. Hazel. This wasn't supposed to happen, he'd wailed. But I knew better. His hands had gripped the wheel just a second too long after that accidental swerve. And now, as the world faded to black, the last thing I saw was his face. Twisted not in grief, but in cold calculation. The same face that had whispered promises of family loyalty right up until he shoved me under that bus, figuratively and, it turned out, literally. But death. It was just the intermission. Because when my eyes snapped open, it wasn't to paramedics or pearly gates, it was to the mirror in my childhood bedroom, staring back at a 25-year-old version of myself. The morning of my brother Ethan's wedding rehearsal, 3 years before the crash that ended me. The shock hit like a freight train. My hands, younger, unscarred, trembled as I touched my face. The faint freckles across my nose that I'd always hated. Now a lifeline to this impossible second chance. Outside, the Hudson River glittered under a crisp October sun in our family's sprawling estate on the outskirts of Manhattan. The kind of old money spread that screamed East Coast privilege, manicured lawns rolling down to private docks, ivy-cloaked stone walls hiding generations of secrets. I'd grown up here, the overlooked middle child in a dynasty built on Daddy's Wall Street wizardry and Mom's Vassar-bred charm. Ethan, the golden boy, heir apparent to it all. And me, Hazel freaking Whitaker, the black sheep who dared to chase a journalism degree instead of an MBA. The one who asked too many questions about the family's investments that smelled like money laundering from a mile away. But that crash? It wasn't just bad luck. In my first life, Ethan had staged it perfectly. I'd uncovered his side hustle, skimming millions from Dad's hedge fund to fuel his coke habit and mistress fund. When I confronted him, he didn't beg, he plotted. A joyride to talk it out, his foot on the gas, a feigned doze at the wheel. The cops ruled it an accident. Ethan walked with a limp and a hero's medal for trying to save his sister. Mom and Dad buried me with a closed casket and a foundation in my name that Ethan promptly raided. He married Lydia 6 months later, inherited everything, and toasted to moving on at my grave. Not this time. This time, I woke up with fire in my veins and a Rolodex of grudges longer than the guest list for his nuptials. The wedding was tomorrow, black tie affair at the plaza. A-listers from finance and fashion rubbing elbows while Ethan played the grieving brother card to perfection. In my old timeline, I'd shown up tipsy, made a scene about family unity, and he'd pulled me aside, hissing, "You're an embarrassment, Hazel. Just stay in the back and don't fuck this up." I'd slunk away, tail between my legs, straight into the trap he set for later that week. Today, I'd rewrite the script. Starting with the rehearsal dinner tonight. I slipped into a simple sheath dress, nothing flashy, just enough to blend, and headed downstairs, the house buzzing with florists and caterers. Mom fluttered about in pearls and panic, Dad buried in his study with stock tickers. Ethan lounged on the veranda, phone glued to his ear, barking orders at some underling. He looked up as I approached, that practiced smile snapping into place. "Hayes, you're early. Thought you'd bail like last time." Last time. The word stung, a glitch in the matrix. But he didn't know. Not yet. "Wouldn't miss it. Big bro," I said, voice steady as I leaned in for a hug that felt like embracing a venomous snake. His cologne, same as the night of the crash, made my stomach lurch, but I held it together. Lydia's glowing. You too deserve this. He chuckled, clapping my shoulder a tad too hard. Damn right.
Just. Keep it light tonight.
Yeah? No deep dives into conspiracy theories or whatever you're into these days. His eyes flicked over me, assessing, always calculating the liability. I smiled back, sweet as saccharin. Wouldn't dream of it, but inside, the plan uncoiled like a spring. Step 1. Charm the inner circle. Step 2. Plant the seeds of doubt. Step 3. Watch it all burn. The rehearsal dragged, endless walkthroughs of the aisle. Vows recited like tax code. Lydia, Ethan's blushing bride-to-be, was all Southern Belle perfection, blonde waves, debutante drawl, the kind of girl who'd marry for the lifestyle and stay for the alimony. She air-kissed me hello, her grip on Ethan's arm possessive. Hazel, honey, you look rested. Been writing that big exposé. Chipping away, I replied, forcing a laugh. In truth, that exposé had been my undoing, emails to Dad about Ethan's discrepancies. Accidentally forwarded to the wrong hands. Or the right ones, from his perspective. Dinner was under the stars on the estate's terrace. Fairy lights twinkling like false promises. Silverware clinked against china as toasts flowed, Dad praising Ethan's natural leadership, Mom gushing over grandbabies. I sat at the kids' table equivalent, flanked by cousins who eyed me like yesterday's news. Ethan rose for his speech, glass aloft, the picture of charisma in his tailored navy suit. To family, he boomed, eyes scanning the crowd before landing on me with a wink that didn't reach his soul. We've had our ups and downs, but that's what makes us stronger. To Hazel, my wildcard sister, who's finally learning to play by the rules. Laughter rippled, polite and cutting. Wildcard. Code for fuck up. I raised my glass, meeting his gaze dead on. To rules. And the ones worth breaking. A few chuckles, but his smile faltered, just a flicker.
Good.
As plates cleared, I excused myself for powder room, but detoured to the study. Dad's safe, combination his wedding date. Because irony was his middle name, clicked open under my fingers. There it was, the ledger. Leather-bound and damning. Ethan's chicken scratch notes on offshore accounts. I'd found it once before, but chickened out showing Dad.
Not now.
I snapped photos on my phone, heart pounding like a war drum. Evidence. The first brick in the wall I'd built around him. Back outside, the band struck up a lazy jazz number. Couples swaying. Ethan pulled Lydia onto the floor, but his eyes tracked me as I chatted with the best man, Jack Harlan, Ethan's old frat buddy turned Wall Street shark. In my first life, Jack had been the one to console me post-crash, the one who'd slip me tips on Ethan's shady deals over late-night whiskeys. Your brother's a prince, he'd say, but his eyes always held pity.
Tonight.
He sidled up, bourbon in hand. Hazel Whitaker. As I live and breathe. You clean up nice. Flattery'll get you everywhere. Jack. I clinked glasses, leaning in. So, best man speech ready? Got any dirt on the groom? He grinned. Wolfish. Plenty. But Ethan's got me on a short leash.
Why?
You got something juicier? Maybe. I glanced at Ethan, twirling Lydia like she was a trophy. Ever wonder why Dad's fund took that nosedive last quarter? Or where the missing $5 million went? Jack's grin faded, eyes sharpening. Hazel. Just hypotheticals. I slipped him my phone under the table. The photos queued up. Look later. And Jack, tomorrow, when you stand up there, tell the truth. All of it. He pocketed it, brow furrowed. What the hell are you playing at? Redemption, I whispered. Mine. And maybe yours. The night wound down with hugs and Ubers. But sleep evaded me. In my room, posters of investigative heroes, Woodward, Bernstein stared down like ghosts urging me on. This wasn't just revenge, it was justice. The kind I'd begged for in my dying breaths. Ethan thought he knew me, the impulsive sister, the loose cannon. But rebirth had sharpened me into a blade. By dawn, I'd emailed the photos to a contact at the Post, an old prof who'd always said I had fire. Anonymous tip, but with a nudge. Watch Ethan Whitaker. Wedding's the perfect stage. Tomorrow, the plaza would host more than vows. It would host Armageddon. Sunrise painted the estate in bloody hues. A bad omen I chose to ignore as I dressed for the main event. The gown was emerald silk, bold, unapologetic, clinging like a second skin. A far cry from the frumpy bridesmaid frock Ethan had suggested in my first go-round. Makeup sharp, hair in loose waves that screamed confidence, not contrition. I was done apologizing for existing. The limo ride into the city was a pressure cooker, Mom fussing over seatbelts like we were kids, Dad droning about market volatility, Ethan and Lydia in their own bubble of pre-wedding bliss. He caught my reflection in the window, that appraising stare again. You look different.
Haze.
Good different. Clean living, I quipped, sipping from a hidden flask of ginger ale to steady my nerves. Gonna make you proud today. Lydia tittered, oblivious. Oh, it'll be perfect. Daddy flew in from Dallas just for the string quartet.
Perfect.
The word mocked me. In Timeline 1, perfection had been Ethan's altar, the merger announcement post-ceremony, sealing his rise while Dad's health declined from the stress of the fund's woes. I'd toasted them all, blind to the poison in the punch, figuratively, until the crash. The plaza loomed like a gilded fortress, paparazzi flashing at the entrance as guests in couture spilled from town cars. I slipped through the chaos, nodding at aunts and uncles who cooed, Hazel, darling, you must be thrilled. Thrilled? Try terrified. My phone buzzed, a reply from the Post contact. Intriguing. Digging deeper. Stand by. Phase 2 initiated. Inside, the grand ballroom was a fever dream of opulence, crystal chandeliers dripping light onto tables swathed in ivory linens, centerpieces of orchids towering like silent judges. The aisle, lined with white roses, led to an arch of calla lilies where Ethan would pledge forever to a woman who'd divorce him in 2 years for irreconcilable coke-fueled differences. I took my seat in the third row, heart hammering as the processional began, bridesmaids in blush, groomsmen smirking like they owned the joint. Ethan stood at the altar, ramrod straight in his black tux, eyes gleaming with the hunger of a man about to conquer. When he spotted me, he mouthed, "Love you, sis," and for a split second,
I almost believed the lie.
Almost. The ceremony blurred into vows and violins, Lydia's tears artfully mascara-proof. I clapped on cue, but my mind raced ahead to the reception, the toasts, the dances, the moment I'd detonate the bomb. As they kissed, sealing their farce, a ripple of applause washed over us. But in my gut, it felt like the calm before the storm. Cocktails in the terrace room bought time. I worked the crowd like a pro, air-kissing investors I'd skewer in print, charming Ethan's boss with feigned admiration for ethical trading. Jack found me by the bar, face pale under his tan. What the fuck? Hazel? Those docs. If this is real, Ethan's cooked. It is, I murmured, swirling my martini, extra olives for the armor they lent. And you're the one with the mic. You gonna choke? Or you gonna swing? He rubbed his jaw, glancing at Ethan across the room, laughing with Dad. I owe him.
Hayes.
Frat loyalty and all that shit.
But. Damn.
If he's bleeding the fund dry, that's my ass on the line too. Partners, remember? Partners in crime? I arched a brow. Or just blind. Look, Jack, you tell that story tonight. You save your skin. And mine, he exhaled, nodding slow.
All right.
But if this blows up, it will. I clinked his glass. And we'll both walk away legends. Dinner was a parade of excess. Lobster thermidor, filet mignon carved tableside, wines from vintages that cost more than my old apartment. I sat with the youth brigade, cousins and college pals, trading barbs about Ethan's glow-up. But my eyes stayed on him. 2 tables over, holding court like a king. When the band paused for toasts, he stood first, as expected. Ladies and gentlemen, Ethan began, voice smooth as aged scotch. Today isn't just about Lydia and me. It's about family, the unbreakable bond that got us here. He turned to Mom and Dad, then deliberately to me. Even when it's messy. To Hazel, who's been my pain in the ass since day one. The embarrassment who keeps us honest. Laughter erupted, sharper this time. Guests patting my back like it was all in fun. But his eyes bored into mine. Warning shot fired.
Stay in line.
I forced a grin, cheeks burning under the spotlight.
But inside, ice.
In my first life, I'd laughed it off, drowned it in champagne, wandered off to sulk.
Tonight.
I rose, unscripted, glass in hand. The room hushed, forks pausing midair. Ethan, I said, voice carrying like a siren's call. You're right. Family's messy. But honesty, that's the real glue. I paused, letting it sink. Remember that time Dad's fund lost a chunk? Offshore glitches. Right? Funny how glitches line pockets. Murmurs stirred. Ethan's smile cracked, a vein pulsing at his temple. Hayes, he started, but I barreled on. Just saying.
Bro.
To honesty. May it bite us in the ass before the lies do. I sat to scattered claps, but the seed was planted, whispers now. Heads turning his way. Lydia shot him a side eye, confusion knitting her brow. Mom leaned over during dessert. Darling.
That was.
Pointed. Everything all right, peachy. Mom. I squeezed her hand, the one that had clutched mine at my funeral. Just keeping it real. The dancing commenced, Ethan whirling Lydia in a waltz that screamed rehearsed. Dad with Mom in a sway that spoke of faded passion. I demurred offers from cousins, nursing a club soda by the balcony doors. The city skyline a glittering accomplice. Jack approached. Tie loosened. Determination etched in his jaw. Your turn's coming. Speech after the cake. You sure about this? Surer than I've ever been. I glanced at Ethan, now schmoozing a venture capitalist. Charm dialed to 11. He killed me once.
Jack.
Metaphorically. Won't get the chance again. His eyes widened. Killed you? What the? Figure of speech.
Lie.
But necessary. The full truth? Too raw. Even for him. Just. When you speak, mention the ledger. The Cayman accounts. Make it personal. He nodded. Stealing. As the cake emerged, a 7-tier monstrosity of fondant and folly, Ethan cut the first slice, feeding Lydia with exaggerated romance. Cameras flashed. The post-tip would hit feeds by morning.
But tonight?
Tonight was personal Armageddon. My phone vibrated. Post-contact. Verified prelims. Story drops at midnight. You want credit? Anonymous. I typed back. This wasn't for bylines. It was for breath, for the lungs I'd lost on that highway. Toasts resumed. Dad's was boilerplate pride, Mom's tearful nostalgia. Then Jack. He took the podium, clearing his throat into the mic, the room falling silent. Ethan clapped him on the back en route, oblivious. Folks, Jack started. Grin easy. Ethan and I go way back, pledge week at Yale. Bad decisions and worse hangovers. He's the brother I never had. Pause for laughs. But tonight, I gotta come clean on something.
See.
Ethan's not just a groom, he's a visionary. Took risks on Dad's fund that paid off big. Murmurs of agreement. My pulse spiked. Had I misread him? But visionaries got shadows. Jack's tone shifted. Eyes locking on Ethan. Like that shadow in the Caymans. 5 mil rerouted. Ledgers cooked. I saw the proof tonight, photos. Timestamps. Ethan.
Buddy.
If this is you playing Robin Hood. Explain. Gasps rippled like dominoes. Ethan's face drained to ash. Fork clattering from his hand. Lydia froze. Cake forgotten. Jack. What the hell? Truth hurts. Man. Jack held up his phone. The images projected via some quick AV hack he'd pulled. Offshore wires. Falsified reports, irrefutable. Chaos erupted, Dad lurching to his feet. Mom's hand at her throat. Guests pulling out phones to live tweet the meltdown. I stood then, weaving through the fray to the podium. Heart a thunderclap. Ethan, I said, voice slicing the din. You called me an embarrassment. But the real joke? You're the thief who wrecked us. Dad's fund. Mom's trust, my life. The last part slipped. Raw and unintended. But it hung there. Electric. He whirled on me. Eyes feral. You bitch. This you're doing?
Guilty.
I stepped closer. The crowd parting like the Red Sea. You swerved that car.
Ethan.
Killed me to cover your tracks. But I'm back. And this time, you pay. The room exploded, screams. Security rushing in, but in that moment, as his empire crumbled under the chandeliers, I felt alive. Truly. Viciously alive. Security's meaty paws clamped my arms as Ethan lunged, his face a mask of unraveling fury, spit flying from his lips. You're lying. She's deranged, always has been. But the photos on the screen told a different story. Projections flickering like guilty confessions across the ballroom's gilded walls. Dad staggered forward, face ashen as he snatched a waiter's tablet, zooming in on the damning transfers.
Ethan? My God.
Son, what have you done? Lydia wailed, her veil askew, shoving at Ethan's chest like he was contagious. Is this true? Cayman Islands? You promised no more secrets. Guests milled in panicked clusters. some bolting for exits, others glued to the spectacle. Phones aloft capturing the Whitaker implosion for Instagram posterity. Mom collapsed into a chair, pearls scattering like escaped tears, while aunts clutched rosaries and uncles muttered about bailouts. Jack hopped down from the podium, inserting himself between me and the guards. Easy, fellas. She's family Whitaker blood. Let her speak. His voice carried that boardroom bark, the one that closed deals and crushed souls. The hands released, but the tension coiled tighter, a spring ready to snap. I rubbed my wrist, stepping into the eye of the storm. Ethan loomed, veins bulging, close enough I could smell the betrayal sweat mixing with his cologne. You think this ends me? Hayes, you're the screw-up who tanked her career chasing ghosts. No one believes you. Oh, they will. I nodded to the doors, where two suits in cheap polyester, cops, tipped off by my post-ally, flashed badges amid the chaos. Embezzlement's a felony. Big bro. Add vehicular homicide? That's life. His laugh was a bark. Unhinged. Homicide? That crash was an accident. You were wasted. Swerving like a maniac. Lies. The words sliced out. And for the first time, I let the memory flood public. The joyride, his whispers of reconciliation. The deliberate jerk of the wheel on that rain-slick interstate. You gripped it,
Ethan. To silence me.
because I knew about the schemes, the mistresses. The lines you snorted off Dad's desk blotter. Dad's gasp cut through the din. A paternal gut punch. The desk? Ethan. Tell me this isn't. But Ethan was unraveling. Eyes darting like a cornered rat. It's bullshit. She's gaslighting you. All of you. Remember her phase? Dropping out of law school for that ragtag paper. Peddling fake news. The crowd murmured, old prejudices stirring, but Jack countered, voice booming. Fake? I verified the ledgers myself. Transfers to Shell Core. Dated back 2 years. Ethan's signature. Plain as day. Lydia slapped him then. A crack like thunder. Her ring catching his cheek. You bastard. My daddy's firm was invested. Did you tank that too? She stormed off, heels clacking toward the bridal suite, trailed by her sorority sisters like a funeral cortege. Security herded us into a side salon, plush with velvet settees and a bar now raided for liquid courage as NYPD took statements. I sat ramrod straight, recounting the crash with clinical detachment, the swerve, the impact, Ethan's feigned panic. Check the black box, I urged the lead detective, a no-nonsense Latina with a notepad thicker than my grudge. It'll show intent, Ethan, cuffed to a chair across the room, sneered through swollen lips. Black box? It'll show you at the wheel.
Sis.
Passed out cold. Liar. But doubt flickered. Had he tampered? In my first life. The investigation cleared him fast. Insufficient evidence. This time, with a post-story breaking any second, scrutiny would be a microscope. Mom approached, eyes red-rimmed, kneeling before me like I was the prodigal returned. Hazel. The crash. You said he killed you. What does that mean? Her voice cracked. The weight of 2 lost daughters in one night. I took her hands, cold as marble. I died.
Mom.
3 years from now. In this timeline.
But.
I came back. To fix it. The words tumbled absurd. But her grip tightened, belief dawning in the impossible. Reborn, she whispered, crossing herself. Like in those books you read? Something like that. No time for theology. Dad joined us. Ledger in hand, retrieved from the safe via a family lawyer on speed dial. It's true, he rasped, voice hollow. The discrepancies. I buried them to protect him. Thought it was youthful folly. You covered for him? The betrayal stung fresh. A secondary wound. And let me take the fall for questioning it. He winced. Aging a decade. I failed you. Hazel. Both of you. No, me alone. But forgiveness? That was a luxury for later. The detective returned, stone-faced. Black box from the wreck. Pulled records. Data's intact. Show's passenger initiated the turn. Mr. Whitaker, you're looking at charges. Euphoria surged, but Ethan wasn't done. As they hauled him up, he twisted toward me, voice a venomous hiss. You win this round,
Hayes.
but I'll bury you again. Family sticks, I'll make sure they sear the monster. The door slammed on his threats, leaving silence thick as fog. Jack clapped my shoulder, exhaling. Holy shit. You weren't kidding. Never was. I turned to Dad. The fund, salvage it. Donate my foundation proceeds to real causes. No more ghosts. He nodded, resolute. Proud of you.
Kid.
Finally.
Pride.
It tasted bittersweet, laced with the what-ifs of a life unlived. As the salon emptied, guests dispersing to after-parties turned true crime podcasts, I slipped onto the balcony. City lights blurring through unshed tears. Rebirth wasn't clean, it was jagged, demanding sacrifices. I'd torched bridges. But in the ashes? Freedom. Midnight struck, my phone lit with alerts. The Post headline screamed, Wall Street heirs wedding crash, embezzlement. Manslaughter allegations rock Whitaker dynasty. Shares spiked, then plummeted, Dad's fund in freefall. But transparent now. Calls flooded, old editors offering gigs. Cousins texting apologies. Lydia's divorce lawyer. Already retained. But one message chilled. Unknown number. You think it's over? Watch your back.
E.
A threat from custody? Or an accomplice? Paranoia prickled. But I deleted it. This was America, land of second acts. Mine was just beginning. The next weeks blurred into a media maelstrom. Ethan lawyered up with the best, white shoe firm billing hours like heartbeats, but the evidence piled like snowdrifts. Witness statements from the crash scene, a trucker who'd seen the swerve. Forensic accounting peeling back layers of fraud. Dad stepped down from the fund, handing reins to a watchdog board. Mom started therapy, unpacking decades of enabling.
Me?
I holed up in a Tribeca loft. Sublet from Jack, platonic.
For now.
Pounding out my memoir, Reborn in Ruins, A Sister's Reckoning. Publishers circled like sharks. Yet the controversies brewed. Pundits on Fox called me a vindictive harpy, spinning Ethan's troubled genius narrative. CNN hailed me as a whistleblower heroine. Social media? A war zone. Team Hazel versus Free Ethan. Death threats in my DMs. One night. Glass-shattering rock at my door. A brick-etched traitor. Cops shrugged. Wedding fallout. But Jack installed cameras. His protectiveness shifting from pity to something warmer. The real gut punch came at Ethan's arraignment. I testified. Voice steady under fluorescent glare, detailing the embezzlement trail and the crash's malice. He stared daggers from the dock, gaunt in orange jumpsuit. But when the judge remanded him, no bail. Flight risk, the triumph soured.
His eyes.
Hollowed by withdrawal.
Pleaded.
Help me.
Haze.
Family.
I leaned into the mic.
Family does a murder.
Ethan.
Rot.
Outside.
Reporters swarmed. I pushed through, flashing my first real smile in years. But in the car, alone, sobs racked me. Revenge tasted like ash, satisfying, but hollow. Had I become him? Ruthless, unyielding? Jack waited at the loft, pizza and beer in hand. You okay?
No.
Honesty. My new creed. But getting there. We talked till dawn, his regrets over ignoring the signs. My fears of the void post-vengeance. By coffee 3, his hand covered mine. You're not alone. Hazel. Not anymore. Dawn broke.
Tentative.
But as sirens wailed below, a shadow lingered, Ethan's accomplice. Who? Lydia? A bored crony? The hunt called. A new chapter in this endless loop. Months bled into a fragile normalcy, the kind stitched from therapy sessions and tentative olive branches. Dad rebuilt the fund, ethical now, with my input on transparency clauses naming a scholarship after me. No strings. Mom and I weekend walked Central Park, unpacking the enabling web she'd spun around Ethan's potential. I saw the darkness, she confessed one drizzly afternoon, pigeons scattering at our feet. But love blinds. Hazel. Yours didn't. Jack became fixture, brunches turning to dinners, debates over scotch evolving into quiet confessions. I knew about the schemes, he admitted one night. Rain lashing the loft windows. Looked the other way for the cut. Coward shit. Forgiven, I murmured,
Tracing his jaw.
We're all starting over. But Ethan loomed, a specter in the system. His trial loomed like a guillotine. Federal court. Manhattan. Fall docket. Prosecutors stacked charges. Wire fraud. Money laundering. First-degree manslaughter. The black box data was gold. Tire forensics showed no skid for my swerve. Plea deals floated, 20 years, but his lawyers stonewalled, painting him as scapegoat to my delusions. Controversy peaked with the leak. A recorded jail call. Ethan's voice slurring to an unknown. She's the key, flip her story. Or we're both sunk.
We.
Accomplice confirmed. Cops traced the line to a burner. But the voice? Feminine. Accented. Eastern European? My mind raced to Elena, Ethan's executive assistant, the one who'd vanished post-wedding. Her desk cleared like a ghost. I dug. Old reporter instincts flaring. Hired a PI on Dad's dime. Discreet. Ex-Fed, trailing leads to Brighton Beach dives. Elena surfaced in a money laundering front, wiring remnants of Ethan's haul to Moscow relatives. But the twist? She wasn't side piece. She was architect. Tapes from her phone. Ethan begging. Help me bury this.
Elle.
Hazel's onto us. Her reply? Cool as permafrost. Crasher. Clean. The betrayal doubled down, not just blood, but bought. I handed the tapes to the DA. Anonymous drop. But the fallout? Elena flipped, testifying for immunity. Ethan's coke debts to Russian mob. Her role as fixer. He said kill the sister. She drawled in court. Accent thick. I say, make accident. Trial day dawned brutal, December chill biting through my wool coat as I entered the courthouse, flanked by Jack and a bodyguard. Media scrummed the steps. Mics thrusting like spears. MS. Whitaker. Is revenge worth the family fracture? I paused, wind whipping my scarf. Justice isn't revenge. It's oxygen. Inside, the gallery hummed, Dad stoic in the front row. Mom absent, too raw. Cousins averting eyes. Ethan entered, shackled, a husk of the groom, sallow skin, eyes darting like prey. Our gazes locked, his lips curled in a ghost of sneer. Enjoying the show? Sis. Front row seat to truth. I sat, pulse sinking with the gavel's echo. Prosecution dismantled him layer by layer. Experts on the ledgers. Crash reconstructionists with 3D models showing the deliberate veer. Elena took the stand, composed in a pantsuit, spilling blueprints of the fraud. Cross-exam? Ethan's silk-stocking attorney shredded her credibility, gold-digging opportunist. But the tapes played. Undeniable, his voice, plotting my end. Defenses turned me, summoned as hostile witness. Under oath, lights hot as interrogation. I recounted the rebirth, not literally, framed as haunting clarity from grief therapy. I remembered details buried by trauma. The wheel, his grip. The lawyer pounced. Delusional fixation? Or vendetta for imagined slights? Slights. I leaned forward, voice steel. He stole our legacy. Then my life. Call it fixation if you want, I call it survival. Jury murmurs. Ethan's flinch. Then the controversy detonator. Exhibits of my instability. Old psych evals from a college breakdown, stress-induced. Not bipolar as spun. Emails I'd sent Dad. Hysterical in their urgency. Unreliable narrator. The lawyer crowed. Twitter ignited. Hazel hoax trending. Bots amplifying the smear. Jack squeezed my hand in the hall during recess. They're desperate. Means they're losing. Desperate men destroy. I whispered. Spotting a juror eye me pityingly. Erosion. Final day, closings. Prosecution. A betrayal of blood and boardroom. Defense. A sister's sabotage. Jury deliberated 2 days, agony in a holding pattern limbo. Me pacing the loft. Jack brewing endless coffee. On the third. Verdict. Guilty. All counts. Sentencing? 25 to life. Parole after 15. Court erupted, prosecutors high-fiving. Ethan's team slinking out. He rose for allocution. Voice breaking, Hazel. I loved you. Twisted.
Yeah.
But family. Tears, crocodile. But they glistened. I approached the rail. Last words before transfer. Love doesn't swerve into death. Ethan. It steers clear. He nodded. Broken. As guards led him away. Outside. Catharsis crashed. Sobs in Jack's arms. Dad's hug a lifeline. It's over, he murmured. But was it? The twist lingered. My rebirth. Unexplained. A private miracle. Or curse. Dreams still jerked me awake. Blood on the dash. Epilogue unfolded gentle. Spring thaw. My book-topping charts. A TED Talk on second chances booked. Jack proposed on the Hudson dock. Simple ring. Knees in gravel. Reborn together? I yes-ed. Laughing through tears. Yet at the estate. Now mine by deed. I found the old ledger. Ethan's last gift. Smuggled out. A note tucked inside. Forgive? Controversial to the end. I burned it. Ashes to wind. Forgiveness? Maybe in another life. This one? Mine. Fully. Fiercely claimed.